Hello, and welcome to the Notary Life with Kimmi Podcast. I am also one of the trainers with Notary Educators, which includes myself, Kimberly Nunnally, Angela Johnson, and Alexis Franklin. We each own our own very successful notary businesses and teach notaries in all 50 states to be great and grow their own business. We will discuss general notary work, apostilles, ink fingerprinting, and the duties of a notary signing agent, and much, much more. For all of your notary needs, please visit notaryeducatorsllc.com. We hope you enjoy the show, and we wish you much success. Oops. Oh, hey guys. Well, welcome to Notary Life with Kimmi. I was trying to get y'all a little introduction music there, but it didn't work.
It didn't work.
Y'all know me and technology all the time is not that great. So anyway, welcome to Notary Life with Kimmi. I am Kimmi along with Angela and Alexis, and I'll let them say hello and introduce themselves.
Hello, you guys. I'm Angela with AJ Mobile Notary. We're so excited and happy to be here tonight.
Hello, everyone. It's Alexis with Mobile Notary Services by Alexis. Welcome.
Yes, welcome everyone to Notary Mentor Mondays. So tonight we are talking all about apostilles. Do not be shy. Whatever you want to know, we are answering questions. You guys know how we do it over here. I'm gonna say hey to a few people. To everybody joining us on the replay, welcome to Notary Life with Kimmi. We appreciate you being here. We'll just say hey to a few people really quick that are with us. Hey Nancy, CC, DJS, Pioneer, L. Lewis, Yashika, Karen, Fearless Notary, VB, Dr. T, Nancy, hey Sheila. Let's see who we have on Facebook really quick because we cannot leave out our Facebook people. Really quick. Did anybody have a story tonight? We didn't actually talk about that. Did anyone have a story tonight? Hey, Tawana from Jersey. What's up, Amelia, Lisa, and everyone else there who we don't see? Welcome. We appreciate you guys being here. I do have somebody on Facebook. Who's that? Juju. Hey, Juju. So we had a little thing.
Hey, Juju.
Did you guys have a story? Hey, Star. Jersey is in the house. Angela, did you guys have a story? If not, I'll talk about what happened really quick while we wait for a few more people to get on.
I'm saving my story for the,
Okay. So let's talk about over the weekend, guys. Another notary in another Facebook group, a Georgia Facebook group. Angela actually accidentally thought she was in our Notary Educators Facebook group, and she responded to something over there, and she ended up getting invited to speak at a little impromptu event for just a few notaries. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big announcement made or anything like that. Right. So the other notaries or this other group had was planning something at Applebee's, and it was near the house or whatever. So like I said, Angela mistakenly replied over there, and then she got invited to speak. So we all ended up showing up and showing out.
We travel in packs.
Yeah, we travel in packs. So we had a good time though. It was like I said, impromptu, and everybody came with their questions. We answered everybody's questions and stuff. So it was kind of nice. They did not know who we are. A few of the people there, that was kind of funny. I mean, not that we're anybody, but it was just kind of funny. They didn't know who we were because they were doing introductions and they skipped us because somebody else knew who we were. So she figured everybody at the table knew who we were. So she skipped us. So we came back around. It was like, oh, so you have a YouTube channel? I said, yeah, I do. So it was kind of funny. And it kind of reminded me of my mom and dad. They would always, we served at the same religious house together, and they would always say, everybody knows Kim. I was like, Ma, everybody don't know me. She'd be like, you know such and such. Ma, everybody don't know me, and I don't know everybody else. So it's so funny. So we are not as popular as we think we are. Look, we don't think we're popular at all. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, welcome to Les. Hey, Joy, Marlo. Who else is on Facebook right quick? Let's see. And then we're going to get into this apostille thing because it's going to take us a minute. Hey, Marie. Let's see. Latonda is over on Facebook too. Hey, guys. Welcome. I see Shannon B's up with us. Okay, so we're going to get started. So we are talking tonight about apostilles unleashed, whatever you want to know. Now's your time. Do not be scared to ask your questions. Okay, we are here for you guys. So Angela's going to take the lead tonight because she is the apostille person in the group. Hit it.
Hello, everybody. So excited to be here. Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I didn't know if you could hear us. I'm sorry.
So we're going to be talking about apostilles tonight. So apostilles is a French word. It's really apostille, apostille, apostle. You know, people call it all kind of things. And so the question is, what is an apostille? It's an authentication of the signature and seal of the issuing public official or the notary public. And it's not valid in the U.S. These documents are used in other countries, and it's the contents that that is not authenticated. So really, the Secretary of State or the notary is what the official or the person that's notarizing the document is what's being apostille or verified. And so the Secretary of State.
Angela, let's go even slower than that. So let's start over.
Because I'm a fast talker.
Yes, for those who don't know anything about it. So the French word, like you said, is apostille. We hear often people say apostille, apostle, like in the Bible, which is definitely not the correct way. But because we know it's not apostle from the Bible, but that's another way people say it. So that's one thing. That's the correct pronunciation of it. But if you say apostille, people will know what you're talking about. Most of your clients are probably going to say something like, I need a something with an A. That's what they'll usually say. So now we know the title of it. So what's the purpose of it? Again, Angela, just a little bit slower, please.
So the purpose is for the notary or the issuing public official to make sure that basically you as a notary or official, that your commission is still valid, and that because I was talking to actually a person 2 days ago, and they were asking me, why does it have to be done this way? Because he was getting some documents from the bank in Brazil. And I explained to him that you're in this country and you're from Brazil, a bank account. Well, the authorities over there want to make sure that you're the person who you say you are. So the notary has to verify you, identifying you and signing the certificate saying that they saw you and they identified you in your signature. I said, so the agency has to identify me as being a legitimate notary, because I could be your friend saying that I'm a notary. So I have to verify you, and then the state agency has to verify that I'm a legal notary in good standing. And so when I explained it to him that way, he said, oh, okay, I understand. I said, because anybody could say, oh, I'm this person and I want money from my bank account. So here's my signature and here's the papers you sent. So it's not that simple. So that's why documents have to be apostille or authenticated. And so we're going to go into what's the difference between the two. And so sometimes
so
when you...
minutes. Let me do more like an interview. Let me kind of interview you about it, Angela. Now that we're talking it out, I think it'd be better if I ask you questions and then you can answer it for us. Would that be okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I know you know a lot about it, so you can just go. So let me ask you a few questions about it. So why is an apostille needed? So you mentioned that they're verifying the person that signed the document. Why would a client be coming to you asking for an apostille?
Mm-hmm. So there are many reasons why a person would need an apostille or have their documents authenticated. I'll give you some examples of what I've apostille. I just recently had a person who inherited some property in Colombia. So she hired an attorney, and so she had to have her birth certificate apostille. She had to have a power of attorney apostille, giving the attorney power to do the transaction. And so that's one reason, because if you get property in another state and you're from a country and you live in another state in the United States, you have to authenticate the document saying you're who you say you are and giving the attorney the power to transact the business. Another reason is I had one recently where the person wanted dual citizenship. His parents were from Colombia. He was born in the United States, but because his parents were born in another country, he could have dual citizenship. So he had to have his birth certificate apostille, but it also had to be translated into English, Spanish, because he was born in Florida.
Okay, so let's stop there. Let's stop there for a second. So So, like you were saying, the client has some business in another country. Prior to the document leaving the United States, it has to be authenticated. Some reasons why would be, again, like you were saying, a power of attorney. Uh, the person may not physically be able to go to India or Panama to handle the transaction. So now they're going to give their cousin authorization on their behalf to handle the document, the property, or whatever's involved over in the other country. That's why the document is leaving the United States. And that's why it needs a higher level of authentication. Correct.
Right. If you're getting married in another country, you have to get what's called a single status affidavit. That just proves that you're not married to somebody else in this country. You have to get your passport and possibly a birth certificate apostille to go get married in another country, like a destination wedding situation.
Okay, so now we know what it is, why it's needed. What's a few different type of documents? You did kind of handle that. You said power of attorney. I see in the Facebook, in the chat, someone saying if they're having a wedding abroad, you mentioned the single person affidavit. Also, if they're studying abroad, somebody put that adoption. Very good. So that's some common documents, because we had that question earlier in the Facebook group. Now let's also talk about this. Do you have to be a notary to be an apostille agent?
So the answer to that question is no. You do not have to be a notary, because being an apostille agent is not a notary act. But it's good if you are a notary, because a lot of the documents need notarization. So if you are a notary, you can notarize the documents and apostille, but you do not have to be a notary to be an apostille agent.
Okay, very good. So why do you need to be a good notary if you are going to be a notary doing apostilles? Why is that important?
So that is like crucial. That is very important, because you're handling people's important documents. You as the notary have to make sure that, first of all, you have to realize what's the most important thing is that you identify the person, but also your notary certificate plays a huge role in you making sure that the documentation is sufficiently and accurately filled out. Because if you don't fill out that notary certificate, you have to realize that those documents are going to another country, they're scrutinized, and if the official in the other country feels that there's something wrong or sees that the notary certificate is something that shouldn't be or should be not there, then they can reject it. So this person has went to another country to take care of their business, and they can't because the doc.
So if the notary is not performing their duties correctly, it affects that the apostille will not be able to be processed. It'll probably be rejected. So that's why you must know how to be a good notary.
Exactly.
Or you can start doing apostille work, because Angela actually had something happen. Did you already share that? I don't think so, right?
I did not.
Can you share what happened when there was a notary that was performing an apostille? However, she did not know her notarial duties. What happened?
So, and if you're on here, it's not anything against you, but I just wanted to share this experience and how important it is not to accept. If a person calls you and say, "Oh, I need this document notarized, and can you apostille it?" It's so important not to accept a job if you don't know how to do it, because the person called me and I explained to her that it's too much for me to explain to you how to do it. It's just too many processes. And so she had the document. I said, "I'll facilitate it for you and we can split what's left." So she agreed. So when I got the documents and I saw one thing, the first thing was that the other notary's commission was like about to expire in a couple of days. And so maybe a week. And so by the time I got the documents and would have taken them to the state, they possibly would have been expired. That's number one. Then number two, the other notary actually, I found out too that the other notary actually did not notarize the documents properly. There was no notary certificate. There was no notarial wording. the person just stamped the document and signed their name. That was another no. And so I ended up having to travel I called him, I explained to him the situation. I had to ask questions because you have to know what to ask when you are getting these documents. And so I ended up driving 40 minutes away to get the documents again, to have him re-sign them and re-notarize so I could take them to the proper agency to be apostille. So I'm saying that to say that it's very important that you know how to do it, what to ask, and look through the documents to make sure that they are correctly signed. Because if they're not, again, even though I wasn't the notary or the other notary wasn't the notary, if they would have got to the state would have rejected. So that's another few days. Or if the state would have gotten it got to the other country, they could have rejected it. And so his money, he's trying to get some money out of his bank account, and that would have been held up for possibly weeks or months.
Okay. So that's why it's so important to know how to be a good notary, even prior to trying to add apostille to your Google My Business page or before accepting the assignment, as Angela already mentioned. So let's talk about, around here, notary educators, we like to kind of explain the apostille process, that there's 3 levels to it. Could you talk about that? What does that look like, the 3 different levels, to kind of simplify it for everyone that's not as familiar? What 3 levels?
So there are 3 levels. The first level is your local. And so I'm going to start from this point. So when you get an apostille, the first question you're going to ask is, what's the country of destination? And the reason why that's so important is because you have to decide, as the notary or as the facilitator, is that country in what's called the Hague or Apostille Convention Agreement. So that's why you ask, what is the destination country, meaning the country that the document will end up and signed it. And so after you do that, you will look online on the website. If that country is part of the Hague, then you know that document is going to go state, depending on what document it is. So you got to ask what country destination to make sure it's part of the Hague Convention, and then see which document it is.
Okay, we got a little lag. Sorry about that, guys. There's a little lag. But let's stop right there so we can explain what is a Hague country and what is a non-Hague before we go any further. So a Hague, guys, is spelled Hauge, and then there's a non-Hague.
Hague.
Oh, my bad,
Hague.
Oh, so I ain't gonna say I'm from Detroit because they might get me too, saying that the people, we know how to spell. Forgive me, people. What is it again, Angela?
Hague, Hague.
Okay, so Hauge. Hague.
Why do you keep you're like transposing the letters?
Oh, okay. I might need some chocolate. Okay. Anyway, however it's spelled, you have the Hague and then you have the non-Hague. So what is a Hague country? How did that even come about? Short version. What is that?
The short version is that the Hague or Apostille Convention of 1961 was an agreement between countries. And the countries that are in this group, what happened is that they just agreed to provide a simple way to certify documents that are going to be used between the countries that are in this. Say they all join this agreement or join this convention, and that's basically what it is. So you won't have to go through the other levels. So that's what that is.
So that's, for example, to break that down. So Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida all say, you know what? Hey, we're going to come up with one method where we want to send a document up north to Detroit, Ohio, somewhere up there, that we're going to have a certain look about it. It's going to have certain elements to it. And that way, when it goes up north, they already know it's legit, right? So same thing here. We're going out the United States. So the United States got into agreement with these people. Hey, with these other countries, we're going to make sure that we authenticate the document. It's going to have A, B, C, D. And that way you know it came from the United States and it's legit. Now, what is a non-Hague?
And one more thing I want to say about that too, the Hague countries that are in agreement, is really basically, in addition to what Kim said, is basically saying that we're not going to give you no hassle And I'm not going to give you any hassle. When somebody need a document in the countries that are in this agreement, you just make sure you stamp it to show that it's legit. We'll stamp it to show that it's legitimate, and then we'll accept it. So it's not all this other red tape, so to speak.
Very good. I love it.
So the non-Hague countries are not a part of this agreement. They decided we don't want to be involved in that. We're not going to be in this agreement with you guys. So if you get a client and they call and you say, what country is it? And they say, oh, it's from China. It's China. Well, China is a non-Hague country. So there's a more extensive thing that has to be done. So another thing that you have to realize is that the Apostille or Apostille is part of the Hague Convention, and that's what happens with these countries. If it's in the non-Hague, the document has to be authenticated. And so it has to go far beyond being apostille. So there are other layers or levels of authentication that it has to go through. And so it may have to go through the Secretary of State.
So hold on before you start that. So now you're explaining the level. So now let's go back to level 1. What does a level 1 apostille look like?
It looks like, Alexis has a birth certificate from her daughter. Alexis is from India, and she has a birth certificate for her daughter, and so she wants her daughter to have dual citizenship, but her daughter was born in Florida. So I would have to get Alexis's daughter birth certificate, send it to Florida, have them apostille it, and they'll send it back to me. I'll give it to Alexis, and she'll send it to India because they're part of the Hague. It's just that simple.
Very good. So that's a level 1. What does a level 2 look like?
So a level 2 looks like, this country is not a part of the Hague Convention. So now that we found out this document is that has to go to China, well, first, if it's a power of attorney, and the thing about it is, you guys, it doesn't matter what document it is. Let me back up. So a level 2 would look like, I just did one. This person had a military document. And so it was on the federal level. So the federal level, and it's a United States document, he was moving to the Philippines. So that doesn't go to your local government or your local state. It has to go to DC because the federal level is higher. So you wouldn't go lower to authenticate a document or apostille a document. You would go to the higher level because it is already on the federal level. And so what that needed, because it was a federal document from the military, it does not need notarization. So the only thing I had to do was fill out the forms, have him pay me, and send it to Virginia because Virginia has to review the documents to make sure there's no anthrax or something. And they'll forward it to DC. DC authenticates the document. I'll still send it back to me, and I'll send it back to the customer.
Okay, very good. So level 2 looks like you get to skip level 1, go to level 2, and that's based on what kind of document it is. And as you mentioned, for example, the background check.
Or FBI background check or a military document.
Or military document. Just to, of course, we can't go into everything tonight, guys. We don't hear for a little bit, but that just gives you an idea what a level 2 looks like. Now, what does a level 3 look like?
So level 3 has more processes to go through, and that would be because it's not a Hague country. So when you have a level 3 document, and it could be any of those documents I mentioned, birth certificate, power of attorney, death certificate, any of those documents, it would have to go to the Secretary of State first. And the Secretary of State, of course, is just verifying the notary. Then it has to go to Virginia, who checks for anthrax, sends it to DC. And after DC gets it, then one of two things happen. It either possibly has to go to the embassy or the consulate. And so that comes into play where you really have to hire a company or a person to continue to facilitate the transaction so it can be complete. But it has to go through all of those transactions because remember, the other country is not a part of the Hague Convention. And so they're not going to just accept it because the state said this is a good notary. You have to take it through all the federal processes as well as the local processes. And then the embassy of that country has to approve it before you send it to the country.
Okay, so level 3 is like the Mac Daddy of everything. So then if it has to go to the embassy or the consulate or whatever, do you take it or do the client take it?
That's so I'll give you this example. It could be either I just had a client recently, and he actually, I did the notary. No, it wasn't a notary for that. I did the birth certificate. I found a translator, had the translator translate the birth certificate, notarize it. I sent it to Florida to be apostille. But the client knew nothing about apostilles, you guys. So most of the time, your client will not know even what, can't even say the word. And so he did not know what the process. He just told me, I won't do a citizenship and I need a apostille and I don't know what to do. So what would you do? Would you say, well, I don't know? I spent literally weeks researching every step to figure out what he needed to do. And when I found it, every step, it was lots of phone calls, lots of time. I talked to him. I told him step by step what he had to do. And so he was very appreciative. And one thing about that transaction is what I charged him, he did not flinch. He asked no questions. He thanked me every step of the way for finding out what he needed to do. So the third level, what was I saying? With the birth certificate, he wanted dual citizenship, but this one in particular had to go to the embassy. So I called the embassy, looked on the website, called the embassy, figured out what he needed. And mind you, I already knew part of the process, so it wasn't hard. And the reason why I knew part of the process, because fortunately, the week before I had just did an apostille for a lady, and she had did the same thing. So I was asking her a lot of questions. So that's another thing. I ask people questions if I know they've done something. So because she had done it, I was able to take that information to put it with what I found out to help my current client to find out what did he have to do, ID, his mother's birth certificate, his father who was here. So it was like a whole pieces that he needed. And then in that situation, I'm saying this process because in that situation, he took it to the embassy in Atlanta. And so there are some times where you're going to have to do that. And that's when you hire a third party company, because all the embassies are in DC. So you're going to have to hire a third party company to facilitate that leg of the apostille.
Okay, very good. So we can see it's not just the Secretary of State that is involved in apostilles, because that's what everyone's always told. Go to your Secretary of State, go to your Secretary of State, which is true depending on the document. But sometimes it might be the Secretary of State, DC, and an embassy. So we want to give you clear facts tonight as to what it really looks like to process an apostille. There's no boogeyman here, okay? Alexis, did you want to add anything? I have a few more questions for Angela, but did you want to add anything about what we've talked about so far?
No.
All right, then we'll keep on with the questions. So, Angela, a lot of times notaries may say, well, I want to do apostilles, but the Secretary of State is 2 or 3 hours away from my house. How can they still get in on making some of this apostille money?
Well, there are two ways that I do it. So one way is, and a very important thing is that you have to know what your client needs or what your client wants. That's the first thing. If your client says there is no rush, then you can use means of mailing that the Secretary of State of that state require, because every Secretary of State is different. One may accept UPS, one may accept FedEx, one may not accept FedEx, one may not accept UPS. So whatever form of mailing that they accept, you can send it FedEx. Oh, it takes 4 to 6 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks. You never ever want to tell them that it's going to be ready before to get the business. You always want to be honest with your client and tell them, later rather than sooner. Usually we say sooner rather than later. In this case, you give them the further date than the closest date, because if they're expecting it, then they're expecting it. So you can use FedEx or UPS, whichever is required. Send the documents to whatever Secretary of State with the return envelope, and they'll send it back to you. Or if you know somebody, and if the Secretary of State is open, you can hire a third party to walk it in, some of them require an appointment, walk it in, make the appointment, and have them send it back to you, and you can get it back within a few days. So you still can do other states. You can do any state in the United States.
And also, if the Secretary of State is too far from you, because I hear a lot of notaries or have them ask us rather, well, hey, Kimmi, my Secretary of State is 4 or 5 hours away. That's when you also can find someone to facilitate it. They give you a little kickback, so to speak, and then they'll just process it for you. So you are like the referring agent. Okay, so that's another way that you can make money, or have you a notary buddy on the ground, like Angela mentioned, and you say, hey, I'm going to start this process, but I need to know if you can do the rest of it on your end and get it back to me. So, of course, for a fee. Someone in Facebook is saying that they have a courier in DC that takes the documents to the embassy for them. And if they do charge a fee. So you want to charge enough. Yep. So let's talk about the money right quick. So as far as the pricing, why do we keep hearing these numbers like, and this is just the beginning, it depends on where your state is, where you are. What does pricing look like, Angela? And why do people start at $185 per page and all that? How does that money, where does that number come from?
So that's the one thing you have to do. You have to make sure that you're taking care of all of your fees. You have to make sure the state gets their fee, whether it's $3, $10, or $20. You have to make sure a lot of the Secretary of States are not open. So you have to make sure you put in, take into consideration your FedEx costs. How much is it going to cost me to send this FedEx to the state and to return it? So that's 2 costs, right? That's 2 shipping there and back. Then you got your state fee, like I mentioned. Then if you have to have a translation, you got your translation fee. Then if you got to send it to your client, you got that fee. So you have to add all of that up and see how much you're going to make. Then if you're printing documents, you got that fee. Then if you notarize the document, you got your notary fee. So you want to make sure that you're getting paid enough so you make some profit. And so that's another reason why apostilles are so expensive. Isn't it? Just not all, sometimes, but not like, oh, I made all this money. If you hear somebody say $400, maybe $200 of those dollars are for FedEx fees and all of that, your notary fee and all that stuff. So you have to make sure that, you calculate your fees correctly before you give a price, even if that entails telling your client, let me see what I need to do and I'll call you back. But I know how to calculate it while they're talking to me, so.
We bet you do. So all that being said, so you look at all the fees that are involved, and we talk about this FedEx in here, FedEx in there, UPS here, UPS there, plus your processing fee, because you're not doing it for free, your travel time, and et cetera, et cetera. Now you see how that bill could be raking up. One more question about the pricing. I was asked this actually from somebody in our state level. Why would someone pay us as a notary or anyone to do this when they can go to their Secretary of State or whatever and do this whole process themselves? Why would they pay us this kind of money?
They don't want to be bothered. They want it done, and they don't want to be bothered. They want somebody they're doing to do it.
It's a service. It's a premium service. So most of the time when people have these kind of documents floating between the United States and another country, they have money. And they pay for services. They don't want to be bothered with it. And I'm going to tell you how much I don't want to be bothered with it sometimes. I had a call last week and I called Angela about 5 times. I was like, girl, I'm asking this man these questions. So I knew some of what to ask because I'm more a level 1 kind of apostille agent, right? Anything over that, I start panicking. That's real talk. I know a lot about it. I know what it is. I know how to do it, even some of it, but I just don't want to be bothered. I'm just not a paperwork person like that, right? So I called Angela about 5 different times. I said, girl, he said he got this. Angela said, well, you need to ask him that. So I was exhausted. So I was gonna, at the end of it, I told Angela, I said, how about this? You just handle it, give me a cut, and we're done. And she was like, you got this, you got this. I was like, I don't want to have it. I don't want to do it. So so you will get a chance to see and test the waters and see if you even want to be bothered with apostille. It sounds like it is a lot of money. I ain't gonna lie. When I made my first 200 something off of 2 pages, I was like, oh, now that was a level 1. But the other one, like Angela's talking about, it can take you days, weeks, and months. Can you tell us about one of your clients that I know is taking you like 2-3 weeks sometimes? Why does it take so long to get from A to B in so much time? Can you talk about that for a second?
Well, there are a number of reasons. And I'll tell you a mistake I made. And this is really the only mistake I made. So that's why it's also important as the apostille facilitator or agent that you just, if somebody brings you something, you just can't always just take it and say, okay, I can apostille it. You need to know if they have everything they need to get this done. So I did a federal apostille, the military one. I knew he needed to have it authenticated by the military, which he had the seal and everything. But what I didn't know is he also needed to have a letter that went with that, with the person who authenticated it with their name and their position. So very fortunately that the person who, he had like 4 apostilles. So I was very fortunate that 3 of them I did perfectly. And the man, and that DC sent it back to me, explaining to me what was missing. Fortunately, the man just loves me and he think I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. And so I called him and told him what happened, what was needed. He was like, no problem. He had already connected me with it because that particular one was not going to be back before he left because it was 6 weeks. And so he sent me a picture. I'm like, yes, that's what I need. Sent the paper to his daughter. I picked it up and it's being processed right now. And his daughter's like, he just loves you. So fortunately, that was the case. He has a year to get the papers and it's not anything. So again, that's why I say it's very important to know what the person needs. It's not even all their responsibility. If we're going to do this, as part of it is our responsibility. If we're facilitating their documents, if they don't have something, we need to kind of know. It's not like, I'm not trying to scare you or scary, but when I do something for somebody, I feel responsible for, what I'm doing, because a lady tried to get me to do one the other day. And I said, I can't do that because you just don't have enough time. I'm like, you have to send it. Like we were talking about earlier, I said, you have to send each one of those to the different state. She had a school transcript that she wanted to send to her somewhere. And I'm like, you got to send it to that state to have that state apostille it, then send it to, but anyway, yeah, I didn't do it. So that's why it's so important to kind of, know what you need to do. So you're not going to know everything about this. And I told Kim the other day when she was calling me, I said, Kim, as you can see, doing apostilles is not black and white. It's ands, ifs, or buts. This happened. And it's always going to be some scenario of something happened, probably. But if you know how to pick up the phone, if you know how to do some research, make a phone call this person, call that person, hold for 20 minutes, it'll be good. It'll be fine. So it's not really that complicated. It's just some processes that have to be done.
And something else that you guys know I say all the time, even when it comes to general notary work, is questions equal money. So the more and more questions that you're asking regarding this apostille, you'll see how that bill can rack up easily, and people will pay you for it. So Angela, we're going to thank you for shedding some light on this for us. I want you guys to know also that I did create the specialty journal, I must tell y'all, which is a space in there for apostilles. And you can put the country name, any additional appointment notes, the customer's information. Because a lot of times people ask me, where do I write my specialty work? I-9s, field inspection, ink fingerprinting. So that's why I created this, and people seem to love it. I do too. So I did just want to show you that. We're going to take some of your questions now, whatever you may have. Before we do that, though, we're going to just kind of, for those who are just joining us, we've been talking about apostilles. We've covered it pretty in depth, I think. We've taken the lid off, and hopefully you've learned about them, how to process. The money is real. It's not a joke, but neither is the job. It's serious. People's documents are leaving the country. We do want to make you aware of that as we talk about how much money that can be, that can be made with this or whatever. Also, as you guys can see, I'm going to do a little side note and then we're going to get to your questions. I'm wearing all my YouTube gear. I don't know if you guys know it or not, but I actually just wrote a book about how to start your YouTube channel and grow it. So this book is, I don't have a copy of it yet, but it is out. It's in paperback, also ebook. And the book tells you my experience as a YouTuber, how I got started, also how to grow your channel if you're watching and you have a channel and it's kind of, like that. Or if you have a family member that is thinking about starting a YouTube channel, or if you want to, the book is available on Amazon. You can also find it at notaryeducatorsllc.com. And check it out. It's a really good book, guys. It's really thorough, like I do everything, like we do everything here. So if you actually really seriously thinking about a YouTube channel, that's another stream of income. Everybody got something to talk about. Your story is different from anyone else's. I will share this with you. When I started my notary channel, I had watched all the major players out there and I learned so much from them, right? But sometimes I was kind of left wondering, well, what about? So when I started my channel, I wanted it to be a little bit different. I wanted my channel to be, if you wanted to know about business cards, that's what that video is about. If you wanted to know about LLC, that's what that video is about. Because I would want to go back and watch something that they mentioned, but it was an hour's worth of information, and I was never able to go back and find anything. And I also wanted to tell you everything. I didn't want it to be like, I tell you so much and then you have to buy my course.
Right.
Or I tell you so much and I have to do coaching. So I tell you everything, and then if you still want to do business with me or need something that I offer, that's great, but you have what you need and you can walk away with that. So that's how my channel grew. You have something to talk about. If you like the arts, if you like whatever it is that you like, you have a voice. You have something to share with people. So check out the book, and you too may be able to start a YouTube channel and watch it grow. And guess what, guys? It's not that complicated. So that's one thing I wanted to share with you. Also, the courses are still on sale, 50% off. The newest one is that General Notary Work course. Don't be scared. It's not that complicated, because I have a lot of notary signing agents and notaries, period, that are frightened to death of general notary work. So in that course, though, I take the boogeyman out again. We go over how to do nursing homes, how to do jail signings, how to do hospitals, what to expect, what's the verbiage, what's the script. So all of that's in that course, okay? So we're going to get back to you all tonight, and everything I'm talking about can be found at notaryeducatorsllc.com. And we'll get back to your questions. I think Alexis is going to do that for us, so if you'll just kind of go through them, Alexis.
Yeah.
Please. And I'll be doing Facebook.
So first thing I see is from BJS. She says, what type of document would need to be notarized? I found out birth certificates just need to be authenticated and sent to SS office.
Right. So, of course, vital records, court documents that are certified can't be notarized. But if you have a power of attorney, transcripts, somebody brought something over that they had written that needed to be notarized that was going to be apostille. So the same documents that have to be notarized in general notary work have to be notarized if they're going to be apostille. So public documents, basically, that have a notary certificate have to be notarized for apostille.
All right. And then next was Danielle. Danielle says, Angela, when planning destination weddings in another country, do they need to get their marriage license apostille?
Yes. Their birth certificate, their single status affidavit, and their passport. Because they don't have the marriage license yet until they come back, till they get married.
Right. So they wouldn't have to get that apostille to bring it over here necessarily, probably. I don't know how that would work with like a destination wedding.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like her question, but you explained what our process would be on this end. If they're getting married in another country, Danielle, then that's when we on this end, to prepare them for the marriage in Jamaica, they would have to have that single person affidavit, or if they had been divorced, they would have to prove that they were divorced over there. So I'm going to release a video tomorrow, guys, and it actually came about because, you know what? Let me not. Check out my new video tomorrow. It's going to be all about apostilles, okay? Let me not. It's going to be about apostilles, so check it out tomorrow. I'm going to put it out maybe tomorrow afternoon. So it's going to add some more light. I also have 3 or 4 other videos about apostilles. So if you take everything that we've given you, you might be okay. If not, Angela's working on some stuff for you guys. So
I'm actually finished with it though.
Okay, so you want to talk about it, and then we'll get back to the questions.
We'll do questions first.
Okay, Alexis.
All right, and just thank you, Danielle, for the compliment. Danielle said I was glowing.
You are glowing.
I'll take the compliment. Alexis is glowing. She's getting
She is glowing.
Thank you all.
Baby.
Right. Talia Perez says, what is done if you find notarial act that is wrong?
Well, okay, I just found one that was wrong, and what I didn't facilitate the apostille. If you're talking about before you take it to be apostille, I just called the client and told him it was wrong. He needs to redo the documents because it may get to the other country and they may reject it. So he was grateful that I saw the mistake and told him he needed to change it.
All right.
I got one on Facebook really quick. Well, you know what? Let me let you keep going, because sometimes I find that we get to the Facebook over here. So let's try that first.
Okay. Next one is from Queen Moore. Just said, evening, ladies. Queen out of Decatur, Georgia. I don't know why it's cut off, but I think she says this is very informative.
It's cut off, isn't it?
It's for you too? Okay. Maybe
you want me to read it? You want me to read them?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so Queen Moore says, evening, ladies, Queen out of Decatur. This is very, very interesting and informative. Thanks for shining light on the topic. You have my attention. Yes, welcome. Now we have our Facebook user says, yes, there is always a learning curve. Fascinating one to learn. It is interesting to learn about all these documents and stuff.
It is very interesting.
It is. Then we have, let's see, we did that. Yes, Monica, you will be able to go back and look at this. This training will be available, no charge, on the YouTube channel. The replay will be available right afterwards, so you can go back and watch this. Make sure you have your notepad out. Mm-hmm. Cece says, "What is in Georgia? What does a document need a great seal for?"
When? So that's a good question, CC, because it goes back to questions. You have to ask the client, what's the country of destination or country of intent? When they tell you what the country of destination is, then if they tell you where it's Korea, then you would look at the country chart online and you'll see that Korea is a non-Hague country. Then you'll know it needs the Great Seal. If it's a Hague country, you know it doesn't need the Great Seal. So that determines what agency does the authentication or the apostille.
Now, the Great Seal is different from the apostille seal. The Great Seal of Georgia is going to be just that. It's a seal from the state of Georgia. All states have their own seal, like the seal of Michigan,
mm-hmm.
seal of Florida. So that's different from the apostille seal. So we got all kinds of seals out there.
And this is just a side point. Georgia apostille process, and I think there are 2 other states, are different than all the other states. All the other states, the first level and the second level goes to the Secretary of State. But Georgia, you start with the clerk authority. So that's another whole process.
Right. So we check your state or the state of where the document originated, what the process is. So it's not one size fit all, as Angela said earlier. So the next question is Vanette. She says, does a translator need to provide you with certain credentials?
So the translator, there's this form that the translator fills out, and a notary has to notarize her translation. And so there is, I found this translation company in Georgia, actually, where you can go online and tell them what language you need. And I did a Japanese one recently, and the girl was really nice. She lives in Marietta, but they fill out this form, translation certification form, and then a notary has to notarize their notarize the form.
Okay. And then DJS says, when you say translation, how does that look? How's it done?
Well, whatever. So if it's English and they're sending it to another country, and this is one thing, you guys, the client will tell you if the document needs to be translated. So if they say, "Oh, this needs to be translated from Japanese to English," you will find a Japanese translator and have them translate it to English. Fill out that certification form and have a notary notarize it. But also, in a lot of instances, what I do is wherever the document originates from, I get the translator in that state that has a notary in that state, because wouldn't it make sense that if the document has to go to the state of origin to be apostille, that if it's going to be translated the notary has to be from that state too. So there are a lot of little things that you have to think about, and a lot of phone calls you have to make. But that's what that looks like.
And our Facebook user, let me see, can I put a name with it really quick? Mentioned about the fees, and we already talked about that. You have the FedEx, you have, oh, that's Deborah. Thank you, Miss Deborah. And Mary or Marie, it says you got to think about the travel, the gas, parking, tolls. Take all of that into account when you are pricing your services. Okay. Next we have Unique T Notary Biz. I like that. Hello everyone. I really need to add Apostille to my business, but Apostille scared me. Thank you so much. It's been our pleasure. So yeah, Sheila says it's important to know what you are doing. Hold on, y'all. Oh wait, we almost there actually. Dream Big Tooth says will we be able to watch this later? Yes. The replay will be up. This is not for sale. You can watch it for free. Let's see. Monica says, thank you so much. I've learned a lot in a short period of time. That's what we do. Get you what you need. No fluff. Miss Cece says, Angela, how do you estimate how long the documents will take to get back to the client?
Well, the Secretary of State has an estimated time on their website. But another thing I want to mention that I didn't is that you always want to call the authority to ask questions, because sometimes it changes. Like in DC, even it'll tell you on the website that the fee is no longer $8 or whatever it is, that it's $20. So you always want to make sure that your fees are correct. You don't want to pay too much or too little, because it's going to be rejected. They're not going to say, "Oh, I will take $4 out and send you the other $2 back." It's going to be rejected because you overpaid. So whatever the agency's time length is, like I said, you don't want to tell the client, if he said, "Oh, I need this back in a week," and the agency is saying 2 to 4 weeks or 4 to 6 weeks. You don't want to say, "Oh, well, maybe back in 2 weeks." I always say I'm hopeful, but 6 weeks is what is the worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Always over deliver on that one, under whatever, y'all know that saying. I can't even get it right. But tell them longer, and then when he gets back sooner, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you got it done faster."
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those kind. Okay, thank you, Dream Big too. She says my channel is amazing. Appreciate it. Facebook user said the boogeyman. Yes, we taking the boogeyman right out of this. Quintana says, I'm just tuning in. Hope question hasn't already been answered. When it comes to advertising, can you advertise by levels? That's an interesting question.
That's an interesting question, but I would say no, because the client don't even know what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be a no.
Because
So
they're going to be, if they come to you and say, "I need this apostille," and if it's not, they don't even know what a hate country is, or they don't know whether it's a hate country or not a hate country. And if you find out it's a hate country, then you're going to have to explain to them that, well, this is a more extensive process, that it needs more than an apostille. It needs to be authenticated and legalized. And so that's going to have to go through a different agency. So
yeah, so it's no way to advertise that. But again, that's why you just need to know, even if you decide, for example, like I already told you guys earlier, if you were watching, and you'll catch it on the replay. For me, I prefer like a level 1. And we came up with that here at Notary Educators. There's no such thing in the apostille world. I'm sure somebody gonna come behind me and say, ain't no level 1, ain't no level 2, ain't no level 3. But we were just breaking it down so we can understand that there is more than one way to do it. And it is those 3 levels. So maybe I could copyright that or something. Anyway, level 1 though. So I decided for my business, that's all I prefer to do. That's going to my local Secretary of State. Mostly, I don't want to do the other higher levels. That's Angela's jam. She got that. So for you as a notary, if you decide, hey, I don't want to do anything but the level one, when you get those, you process it. If it's higher than that, find you a notary in your area or call Angela with business. She'll handle it. And you guys split the profit some kind of way. She'll tell you what's fair, what she'll be able to, compensate you or whoever you decide to work with. Talk about the money up front because you don't want to come back and say, well, you told me you was going to give me $100 and they only give you $25 and you felt the job was worth more than that. With some screening questions, you find out that it's a larger job and they just give you a couple of dollars, you're going to be mad, right? So always talk about the money when you're doing business with someone else up front, even your fellow notary. But again, you don't have to advertise level 1, 2, or 3. You just know what you're going to do, and then anything else, have you a plan B. Next is going to be Facebook says also copies that have to also copies that need to have certified that they are official copies of the originals. Yes, that's called a certified copy. That's correct. Some of those documents will be able to be certified copy, and then it can be apostille. So Unique T said, are we from Texas? No, we're not. We're from, we're all notaries in the state of Georgia, but we teach all 50 states how to be a great notary. So whatever state, we've had plenty of students from the state of Texas.
We sure do.
Yeah. So we have students from all over, not just Georgia, but we are actually physically in the state of Georgia, but we handle all 50. Okay. Let's get down to Quintana says she didn't see the apostille course. We'll come back to that in just a second. Talia says, does it have to be corrected by the same notary or can you be the notary? Good question, Angela.
So the one I had, we just trashed it and got a new one and I notarized it and did everything.
Right. So for some reason, if they make a mistake, because you may not even be able to find the other notary. For example, the person had the document notarized in Florida, but now they live in Georgia asking you to facilitate it. You're not getting ready to drive to Florida and get that other notary to correct their mistake, right? And you can't fax it or send a copy. So at that point, you're going to have to redo the document yourself. So now you become the notary on the document. So you see how it's a lot of little weird turns there. So you kind of got to know what you're doing. You cannot fake this until you make it. So to answer your question, sometimes you'll fix it, and sometimes I never would ask the other notary to fix it anyway. I'm just going to fix it because that's more time and money. So I'm going to fix it. By the time you try to find, even if, so for example, if Angela was up the street and I'm doing the apostille and she made a mistake, I'm not going to call Angela and say, hey, you made a mistake on this document. I'm just going to go ahead and put the correct verbiage on there and do whatever needs to be done. I'm not going to call her. That's just us because we're pro. I don't want to say it like that, but
we are professionals. We are professionals.
Well, yeah, we're professionals. We are the notaries that we're gonna get it handled. It became my problem the moment he called me.
Right. So that like the document I had, even though somebody else notarized it, when I had to facilitate the apostille, it became my problem.
Right. It becomes our problem. So we're not the people getting ready to track down. That's that person at work at a W-2 job.
That was the person at UPS.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or at a W-2 job, Sally makes a mistake and then I'm helping the customer. I'm going to go get Sally to fix it. No, I'm going to fix it and get it right. And we're going to make the customer happy and they're going to keep moving because I come from a customer service background. So you own whatever ends in your lap. And that's why he getting ready to pay me good to fix Sally's mistake too. Right. All right, y'all. Let's move on. We are at Facebook. Declaration and certification of translation document basically it states a translate. So they're just telling you about the translation. How can I get an in-depth training? Nancy, we're going to come back to that in just a second. Let's see. Like and subscribe is free. We getting gems dropped on us. Oh, yes, DJ.
I always forget.
I do. Can you guys please like, subscribe, and share this video with somebody? Thank you, DJS. I always forget to ask.
DJS, thank you so much.
I do appreciate it. So like, subscribe, and share. Okay. Thank you. So Nancy, we're going to talk about step-by-step training in a minute. Do you have to have a certification? No, you don't actually. There's no training available from your state on how to do an apostille. This is an open industry. So be cautious of where you take training, because you don't want to get in the hamster wheel. Again, you're paying for training, you still don't know what to do. So this is an open market right now. Everybody's talking about Apostille. Everywhere you go, people talking about it. So yeah, that's what I got to say on training. So Monica says, do you set the price by levels? You want to answer that, Alexis? How do you set pricing?
Yes, definitely. The more work, in a nutshell, the more work that I have to do, the more money it's going to be. And that goes for documents as well.
Yeah. So that's why questions equal money. You got to find out all the facts, because, this is what I was trying to say earlier and I forgot. You could end up costing yourself money if you don't ask the right questions. So you price a job for $200 thinking, oh, that's a lot of money, right?
You got to pay $100 in FedEx fees.
Exactly. Right. You didn't forgot. You got
$20 for the Secretary of State fees.
Exactly. You didn't forgot your FedEx fees. You didn't forgot your processing at the state level, because like some states, our state is only $3, but some states are $20 per document.
10, 20, they different prices.
Yeah, so that's a whole nother thing. So you could actually end up costing yourself money, and you really gonna be mad. So you gotta price it right. Quantana says, so any document being used in another country is considered apostille. No, not every document being sent to another country requires an apostille. That's going to be based on the client's need. Because I have had documents like for a power of attorney, for example. The power of attorney just needed to be notarized here in the States. The other person requesting it did not want it apostille. So you don't even have to open that can of worms with your client. If they ask you for an apostille, that's what they need. But they will let you know what they need. They know what they need.
I actually did a seller's package from Africa that did not need apostille. I talked to the attorney. Attorney told me what they needed, and I just notarized the papers like I was notarizing. They was different, but notarizing documents from a seller's package here.
Right. They look different. Actually, I did a Jamaican sale last week, and I took one of our Facebook people with us. If you are not in our Facebook group, also guys, it's completely free. Notary Educators is our Facebook group, and I took her over there. So we had to look at the documents a couple of different times, and actually the person that sent the documents, thank goodness, they were very thorough in how they wanted it filled out. So they sent us a sample of what to do for the actual document. So that was a huge plus there. So again, your documents are not going to come from just your state. You need to know how to handle any document. Okay. So check out my course, Notarize Like a Pro. If you are not comfortable with notarizing, that course will get you prepared to notarize documents. Okay. Notarize Like a Pro. And again, all courses are on sale. 50% off, no coupon code needed. Okay. So please check out the courses right now. I guarantee you, check out our Facebook group if you want reviews on the courses, guys, because they are amazing. I'm not just saying that, they really are. So let's go to Unique T again. So she says, once a customer comes to us, what's the first step to even take? Do you have something we can download?
So before the customer comes to you, you need to ask questions, because you need to know when that customer gets there that you're going to be able to help them with that document. And the very first question you always ask is, what's the country of destination? And that determines whether you're going to even do it. If you don't know how to do the other levels, then you're not going to do it. Or, what's the destination? I mean, what's the country of destination? What type of document it is, because then you got to figure out, do I have to send this to another state? So there's a series of questions. No, we don't have anything to download, but we'll talk about the class later.
All right, I was trying to get these Facebook comments. Hold on one second. Charlotte says, out of curiosity, would you add a fee on top of the translator or another notary if you facilitate the search? Would those costs simply be directly passed through as an added overall cost to the service? So yeah, you can add a fee for that. Actually, what Angela does, and she's sitting right here, so she can tell you what she does. When you have a translator, how do you facilitate the fee? How do you handle the processing of the translator?
It depends on two things. It depends on if the translator is out of town or local, and it depends on if I've charged them, and then I feel like I've done extra work and I didn't charge you enough. If I feel like I've already charged you enough for the work that I'm doing, and it's not any extra, I really don't upcharge the cost too much, but I upcharge it a little bit because I find that with translation, it's always going to be some extra cost because they got to send the document. Even if the lady in Marietta, she had to send the document to me, so I had to pay her extra $26, send her a FedEx label to. So I do upcharge some because you have to. That goes into making sure you have all your costs covered.
So that looks like this. If I need a document translated into Chinese and I find out that it costs $100, more than likely I'm going to go ahead and add an extra 50 on there. Why? Because anything could jump off. I'm never trying to do business where I'm in the hole. That's not being a good business person. You don't do business where it costs you money. This is not charity work. So I'm going to put a little cushion there. And then if I end up profiting a little bit from that, it's fine because I guarantee you there will be another one that I underbid it or underpriced some kind of way. So it all washes out in the end. Again, we are in the business of making money. This is our business. We are not in the business of losing money. Okay. Doc DT says, will starting fees be provided by Angela in the course? Of course, excluding the travel, postage, and other fees. Well, we kind of talked about it tonight. It's going to be based on your area. We're no secrets here. Pricing is going to be based on your area. Like we're in the suburbs of Atlanta, so we may not be able to charge in the heart of Atlanta. They may charge like for the first page $195. I know for sure they do. The next page they charge like $95.
Document, not page, document.
Per document. Thank you for the clarification. So if they charge $195 for the first document and then $95 for the next document out here, I might charge $185 for the first document. My second document might look like $50. So I want the client to choose me over Atlanta. And I've had that happen because they didn't want to drive to Atlanta either.
Right.
So, once you do know what you're doing and you put it on your Google page, people will find you. And they may not want to drive to the major city. They may have a few more days. And in our case, we're only 30 minutes away from the Secretary of State or from the Clark County who processes our apostilles. So it's nothing for me to drive there. I'll drive there. And it's open now. We can walk in. So I'll drive there in a heartbeat. In our case. Next is, do you get pushback on attached certificates?
No, because I'm the professional. I know what I'm doing. I'm telling you, they don't know what an apostille is. If I say it needs a certificate, I just tell them you need to sign this certificate. They don't ever push back. I just explain to them what the process is, when they'll get it back. And if I need to add something, like the other day, I said, we need to add this certificate because it shows my notary information and it won't be processed without it. So no, I've never had any pushback.
So let's talk about that right quick because I see that in the chat a lot of times. So I'm going to give you 2 seconds on this because this is not what this is about tonight. But if I am adding an attachment, a certificate to a document, my preferred method, unless it's apostille, is to use my jurat stamp or my acknowledgement stamp. Most people don't want you adding that piece of paper. Now, if you have to, according to your state, for example, California, we know is very picky. It's going to be a certain way. That's the way it's going to be. You're going to add certificates all day long, right? But for most of you out there, you can add a jurat stamp or an acknowledgement stamp if your document does not have the proper verbiage. And that's what your client is looking for. So you need to know how to do that. If you don't, you need to be buying my course, Notarize Like a Pro. And all that being said, because they don't want the attachment, it doesn't feel like it's been notarized to them. They feel like somebody just stuck that piece of paper there. They want to see it on the document that they bring you, if that makes sense, okay? But in the case like Angela was talking about for apostilles, you cannot willy-nilly that. It has to be a certain way. And if it's not, it will not be accepted. It will be rejected, okay? So you need to know how to notarize both ways, okay?
Because I actually had a guy that came to me and he had a 1 page. He did not have any notary language, no notary certificate. And he didn't want anything stapled to it because he had to scan it and email to somebody. And he didn't want it to seem like he was tampering with it. So fortunately, I have a jurat and an acknowledgement stamp, and I was able to accommodate him and give him what he needed.
Right. So most people do not want you adding that attachment. Again, in California, don't call me talking about, Kimmi, we can't use. I know you cannot. You got your own way. You got your own country out that way. So, But everybody else, again, you should be able to add it and know how to do it. Okay. So Marlo says the Ohio Secretary of State has step-by-step simple instructions on how to apostille documents of various types. I followed those instructions and was able to process my first 2 apostille jobs.
Great, Marlo.
That's amazing.
Kudos.
Very good. Yeah. If you can self-teach, we're all about that. So we all about that life too. Whatever you're gonna do to make your money, as long as you're a pro at it. So I'm gonna say this right quick. So I had someone in a Facebook group. Again, we're not calling nobody out, so this is just a teachable lesson. So somebody in the Facebook group said they had a call with a notary person, and they told them it was their first job. They've never notarized anything, and the person told them, "Hey, do not accept the job." And the person took a job. It all went well, right? Kudos to that person. Kudos to the notary. Kudos to everything, right? But I'm never going to recommend that you just go out there and start stamping a paper and you do not have any training. You don't know what anything is. That's like a surgeon going to surgery and he ain't been to school. No, he just got the supplies. So that's not the recommended way. I didn't go off in the Facebook group and I didn't correct it or whatever, but I'm going to say it here publicly because I know everybody saw the comment and everybody was like, "Ooh, why would somebody tell her not to do it?" Yes, I'm going to tell you and anybody else that's listening, that's in the Facebook group, don't go out there stamping people's papers and you don't know what to do. Fortunately, that went well. But can you imagine the number of times that it does not go well and you messed up somebody's stuff? Alexis,
But it probably went well because it was a friend and they helped, and it's different circumstances for different situations too.
Yeah, you want to talk about that, Alexis? The need for proper training and not just willy nilly. Because the reason I picked you for that is a lot of times you get calls when we do our intake calls and people tell you, "Oh, I'm a notary at work." So I know you have a certain feeling about that.
Yeah, especially on that topic as far as work, it's just 2 different things. Especially like you said, with proper training, when you go out there, you know what you're doing. If you don't, I mean, people are spending. It could be possibly hundreds of dollars with you, right? Especially in the apostille world. So if you don't know what you're doing and you just sending stuff off or you think you know the process, it looks bad. It comes back on you at the end of the day. It's your business. It's your face. So why not invest the time and the energy and money to make sure that you have proper training? Because it sounds simple and it can be simple. Because at the end of the day, a person can do it themselves, right? But on the flip side of that, it's a lot of pieces to it. And if you don't know what you're doing, and you're just out there doing something, it can really blow back on your business. And we're all here to run a business. So, yeah, I definitely feel strongly about that. Make sure you know what you're doing, especially in this process with the apostilles.
Right. And even as far as being a notary, Alexis, would you speak to how you often tell people it's a difference between being a work notary and a notary for your business, your personal entrepreneur business?
Yeah. So I never was a notary at work. So when we got into teaching and we started having a lot of people come to us telling us their stories, so forth and so forth, the consensus across the board was, yeah, I'm a notary at work. I've been a notary at work for, it could be 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, right? But usually at work, it's a repetitive process. So they're just handing you documents, you're stamping it, and it's usually like maybe one document, or maybe it's a variation of different documents, but it's the same documents, is what I'm trying to say. So you've been doing this for years, so you know that process, you got that down. But you never had a Georgia handbook. You don't even know what you can and cannot do. And sometimes I found that even at your job, the process that they're having you do is really incorrect. And it could be a major company. And I've noticed that too, based off talking to multiple people. So yeah, definitely in the work field, yeah, you're a notary. You know how to stamp. You have your stamp, right? But did you pick up your Georgia handbook or any state handbook and actually read it and know exactly what falls under, being a notary? Because that job is going to teach you what they need you to know for that role.
And they don't even teach you anything. They normally doing this. This is how it was when I was a notary at work. And I'm sure 99% of you, the same thing. Stamp this, stamp this, stamp this, stamp this, stamp this. And you be like, okay. And you just stamp. You ain't saw no ID or nothing. You just stamp. And they'll tell you, can you go get your notary? We need somebody to stamp papers. Okay, I'll go get it. That's how I got mine. I worked in 2 different banking institutions, and I had no clue what I was doing. I was just stamping my life away, not knowing the reality of what was going on until I actually started my business. So just because you're a notary at work, again, we hear that all day long. I'm a notary. I'm a notary. Yeah, you probably that notary, but we want you to be this kind of notary. We want you to be the notary that know what you're doing and why you're doing it, not just stamping papers, because you can't get out there and just stamp in the real world, you know? You probably shouldn't even be doing it at work, but I'm not going to tell y'all to, go up against your managers and stuff. But so many people take our classes, and during class, they say,
yep, I wasn't supposed to do that. Yep.
You mean what? Oh, no.
So many people.
If we had $1 for every time somebody said that, right, we wouldn't have to work, because people all day long, once they really learn what they're supposed to be doing, it's different than what the companies actually have you doing, okay?
Yeah.
So we'll take a few more, guys, and we'll wrap this up. So I think we are at Facebook, 909. How do you know if you need to send a document to another state to be notarized and apostilled? The document, you want to say it?
Go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say the document will let you know what it needs. Again, this is where the document originated would be a better way to explain that to you. Mm-hmm. So if the document originated in the state of Florida, it has to go to Florida. If the document, that's why questions are so important. Where does the document, that sounds like this. Okay, Mr. Smith, so you have a birth certificate. Where did that birth certificate, where was the person born? What state? Okay, they were born in New York. So now you need to find out what New York's processing is. What's their requirements? Whatever, if you're not in the state of New York, if you're in the state of Florida and someone calls you from Michigan, okay, Mr., and he's visiting your state or whatever, in the document. So Mr. Smith, the person was, he's going to tell you, I have a birth certificate. My child was born in Michigan. That's your clue that everything else dealing with that document needs to go back to the state of Michigan, because you in a different state don't know anything about that, and your state knows nothing about that document. It has to go back to where it originated, okay? All right, next we have Gilletta. Is there a location where you can get all the states' forms? Yeah, you can go to each state. Now, there may be somewhere out there, someone that has it. I don't know. We don't have one yet.
I recommend you going to each state. There are some places you can go with a group, but I don't do that. I go to each state because things change.
I agree. That's a pro move. So yeah, you could probably buy an apostille list from someone. So after we had this live, I'm sure someone's going to create it. No problem there. But just like Angela and I and Alexis recommend, go to each state, because something could have changed. So say somebody put a little kit together, you go buy it. That kid is from 5 years old, but now the actual instructions have changed as of today's date, right? So you always want to be current and fresh. So go to the site, physically go to the site of the state. That's what I recommend. That's what we recommend over here. Gelada also says, I had someone needed a birth certificate, apostille, to get a passport. I needed to have a birth certificate. So I told them they needed it first before it could be apostille. Correct. They need to have the original birth certificate. Yes, that is correct. You did good. Hey, Kalisha. Ebony says, can you please answer, how do I find a mentor? I know it has an impact on your business. Ebony, I'm going to recommend you reach out at notaryeducatorsllc.com. We do free intake calls for anyone that's listening. Just fill out the contact us page, and we will give you a call back to see where you are in your business and what you actually need. Okay, so notaryeducatorsllc.com. That is completely free, and we will call you back. Okay. Talia says, right, there's a reason why we are required to have bond and E&O insurance. I hear notaries making a lot of mistakes because of no training. Preach, Talia. You got it. You are so right. So on that note, guys, I am going to remind you that I do have my this is my regular book, How to Start Your Notary Business. And then the orange one is for the state of Georgia. So check those out if you are in the process of starting your business. The gray one is for all states, even Georgia. But Georgia, you actually have your own book. So that, and the courses are on sale, 50% off. We are also actually still offering the one-on-ones. live courses. That's for the basic training class, and also the
Loan signing.
Yes, loan signing agent. We got a couple more things, and we will skedaddle. I'm gonna let Angela and Alexis say bye. So we got signed by Cleisha says yes, things change frequently. Judy Lawrence also says before doing any apostille, check the Secretary of State for quality assurance. Yes, that's a pro move. Judy is also good with apostille. She's called the queen of them. So Judy and I are friends. We have that's good shout out to Judy too. Fortunately, we have our own version over here though. AJ Mobile Notary Services. So y'all can tell Angela is a pro. Let's see. Kimmi, can you tell us where you get your stamps? The stamps I get at Amazon. Check out my page over at Notary Educators. There's a supply list also. Just put that for all the supplies that we recommend. Everything again is at notaryeducatorsllc.com. And this will be the last question right quick. The information changes often, as Angela and Kimmi said. Follow with phone calls because sometimes the sites are not updated. Better to be safe than sorry. You are so right. We do not want people's documents rejected or declined. Okay. So I'm Kimmi with Notary Life with Kimmi. Again, everything we talked about, products and stuff. Angela didn't tell you about the course. I'm going to let her do her wrap up and then we'll head out. So I'll go, Alexis, and then we'll let Angela take us home and tell you about training. So, yes. Water. Excuse me, guys. So I'm Kimmi, and check out everything we talked about at Notary Life with Kimmi. NotaryEducatorsLLC.com. Okay, Alexis. There's no water tonight either. I usually have some water.
Yeah, just like they were saying, I just wanted to say this one thing too. Basically, apostille is not that complicated at all, but you just want to make sure you have proper training, which we'll get to shortly. And you want to make sure that you are not afraid to pick up that phone and call whomever to make sure you get the questions answered for your client. So with those two things, I feel like sky's the limit because I just see a lot of people say they're scared to tap into that. But don't be scared. But yeah, that's it. And we will see you all on next Monday.
Yep. So thank you guys for coming. I really enjoyed talking about apostilles. I'm beginning to really enjoy doing them. So we do have an apostille course that I just finished, and it's only open right now to our Facebook group. So if you want the discounted price, join our Facebook group. After that, it will be rolled out to anybody who would like it, and it'll be on our Notary Educators page. And also in the very near few weeks future, I am going to have a YouTube because of my friend Kimmi, who showed me how to do YouTube, and it's going to be all about apostilles. So look forward to that really soon. And we do have apostille training. And so contact us on Notary Educators for more information.
And the last thing I will go back, guys, on the Facebook, please answer the last question, because if you don't, then we will not let you in. The last question is just simply, do you agree to the group rules? And people miss that question all the time. Okay. So we thank you guys for joining us on behalf of Notary Life with Kimmi, AJ Mobile Notary Services, and Alexis.
Mobile Notary Services by Alexis.
Thank you. We want y'all to have a good night out there, okay? And don't be scared. It's not that complicated.
It's not. It's really not, you guys.
See you all.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you again for listening to the Notary Life with Kimmi podcast. We would love to be a part of your notary journey. Please visit us at notaryeducatorsllc.com for all of your notary training needs. Also, please feel free to join the Notary Life with Kimmi YouTube channel, where Kimmi has over 400 videos that will help you to grow and build a successful notary business. Until the next episode, we wish you much success on your journey. Bye.